All right, Mr. Nigel, you creeper. I have to say, you killed it in this part, and I first want to ask you because Nigel is equal parts creepy. You don't know, like, should I trust him? Should I not trust him? But I want to know what were your first thoughts when you got that first initial script and you found out they were playing Nigel?
Well, so the funny part about I was a last minute cast because they were trying to find an actor who could do an accent. So it was like it could have been there were a choice of accents, and I had done the play Closer, and I played Alexander McQueen in a project, and so I've done British a couple of times, and I have a British coach that I work with as well. So I
Oh,
auditioned for
cool.
it, and then the way they started shooting on a Monday, when I auditioned for it that morning, I started work on a short film that I was doing for the next 5 days. And I had one day off in between that entire schedule. And the day that I auditioned, I sent it in, got it the next day. And the funny part about because I also do casting, when I went to submit the audition, I forgot to hit send. So an hour after I go back to rewatch it, and then suddenly the audition's not available. Every actor knows what I'm talking about, but they've gone back to try to watch their auditions on this platform.
Mhm.
And I realized I forgot to hit send. So I emailed the casting people. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I would never do this. I said, but I'm really happy with my audition. Like, we transfer it to you? And the very next morning, because it was after hours, the very next morning, the casting director's like, send it ASAP. So I sent it, and 30 minutes later, I had the offer. And I was like, great, yeah, I can do this. However, I'm not available starting Monday. And they said, no, you start Monday. The first scene that we shot, the very, very first scene was the scene where we're walking towards the desk because she's just been broken into. And so like they had to start shooting in the lobby that Monday. So I called the other film that I was doing and I said, "Hey guys, I really want to do your short, but is there any way possible that we can move this Monday date to a different date?" And they did it. So they did it for me. The only problem was that now I was shooting on Sunday, and as soon as I wrap, I would drive straight to Gulf Shores. So I had 3 hours sleep by the time I got there and got up and got to set the next day. So in answer to your question, I didn't even really have a chance to look at the script until the night that I got there. And so
Wow.
all I was doing was just looking at the scenes for that day. And Jack, who's my accent coach, I did that first scene without having worked with him. So I was just praying to God that it sounded right. And so then when I got him, so I had a break in between. I think I was in the first up, and then like later in the day. So I went and zoomed with him, and I was like, let's do this scene to make sure that it sounded okay. And he's like, yeah, that's fine. Like we're good. So then I worked with him throughout the process while I was doing the show. But back to your question. So I only looked at my scenes, and then when as I started looking at it, because I was more focused on the accent than
Yeah.
anything at that point. And
Hmm.
again, like looking at the first couple of days, it's like, okay, well, Nigel's just kind of there, like maneuvering Miss Bennett around. And so at that point, I was like, I don't think that I really need to read the full script. So I just only read my scenes, and what I did is I searched the word Nigel. So I looked when somebody would mention him. Now that's a terrible thing for an actor to do, but at the same time, I was more focused on the accent. And so the last day of shooting for me was the scene where they reveal the killer. And I remember getting to set and seeing, that one actor covered in, something, not to spoil it for people who haven't watched it yet. And I said, why is he covered in all of that stuff? And they're like, you've read the script, right? And I was like, actually, I have not. Who is the killer? And so everybody started laughing. And I had no idea that he had, because it just happened to be that it was the last day. So
Oh,
the entire
so,
time I had no idea that he was the killer until the last day.
whoops.
Yeah.
You know, it's now that you say that, because I mean, I watched it last night and I mean, so beautifully done. And to
So beautiful.
hear, you know, you being more focused, which is understandable on the accent, Well, when I look at it, I mean, the first thoughts in my head that I loved about Nigel, it was like the sassiness, but yet the creepiness, you know. Then you have him saying, eyes up, smile like you mean it. I mean, you killed it. It was like you didn't know if you were supposed to be creeped out by him. He's walking Rachel all around, and she's just like, I'll take care of this on my own. It's just so beautifully done.
Thanks. Well, Peter's an amazing director. But the other funny thing about like having to get into this quickly and having to the thing that an actor would have to have is a backstory, like, where this person came from and why they're there.
Yeah.
The only fastest, and I thought about this on the way down to Gulf Shores because I needed a backstory into him. And so I came up with this very elaborate story. And so the first scene that we did, we walk around and Peter comes over to me. He's like, "What's going on with your character?" I was like, "Is something wrong?" He's like, "No, no, no. Just like, what's the backstory here?" I was like, "I can't tell you. You'll think I'm crazy." And he said, "Okay, okay. You can just keep it to yourself." I'm like, "Okay, because you'll think I'm crazy if I tell you." And then we got to the second scene, and I remember being at the desk when I told him the story because there were two extras that were standing next to me, and rumors got around about what I told Peter. And so he came up to me, he's like, "Now you have to tell me." And I said, "Okay, but
Oh,
you can't think badly of me." And he's like, "Okay." I was like, "So Nigel is the grandson of Lady Mary from Downton Abbey." And I launched into
oh
this
my,
entire long story about how he was the son of Mary's, the uh, grandson of Mary, the son of her son, and that his father died in the early 70s, and he went to go live at the castle, and it fell on hard times, and she had to open it up as a bed and breakfast. And then at the beginning of the AIDS crisis, there were all of these people there, and she died of AIDS. And Peter is just laughing his ass off. And I mean, and then he inherited all of his money years later because she was dead in the house, and so he went and he blew it all on booze and drugs, and then he was in and out of rehab for all of these years, and that's how he wound up at a resort off the coast of Alabama. And Peter was laughing, and he was like, "I can see all of that." And so that's who. So a couple of the extras overheard me saying this, and it did at some point. Somebody on the crew came up and said, "Did you tell people that this is a sequel to Downton Abbey?" I was like, "Oh God, no!" What I said. So yes, it's a sequel to Downton Abbey on Lifetime. So just I hope that Julian Fellows never tries to sue me. But that was Nigel's backstory.
it's funny. I'm laughing because I can so see it with Nigel, and you can see how creative you are. And I'm like, I'm just thinking it's going to be like something simple, He found his way to a resort because he had like a broken relationship. No, honey,
Right.
you dived and you just literally dissected him better than a psychologist.
Yeah, and I mean, it was just like once you kind of go down that hole with him, it just kept getting it just made more sense. It just get faster and faster and faster. And so I mean, the thing was like being on set and when you're having to go this fast because we shot the entire movie very, very fast, and you've got pages and pages of dialogue to do a day. You need a quick end to it. And also I was very cognizant of the accent. So I needed something that could kind of ground me quickly just with the character. And the fact that he would have spent years in hospitality. And at one point for like very short period of time, I was a night manager at a hotel. So I understand what that's like and having to
Yeah.
smile and pretend that everything's okay when it's not, and how you want to kill all the guests. And his loyalty first is to his workers, to his crew. Um, but at the same time, Nigel doesn't like anybody. And that's why there was one scene that at the end of the movie where when it was cut it's better that they cut it because you end on Anna Marie. But the funny thing was that last line that I have. And I'm standing next to the detective. I say, my heart breaks for that poor girl." And then the detective has her line, and I just remember looking at the detective in a couple of takes, looking at her like, "Get out of my place," and like rolling my eyes, and then just walking off. Like he doesn't care. So like, I'm glad they ended it on Anna Marie, but the intention was at that point, like she's leaving, and Nigel doesn't care. On to the next thing. So
Goodbye.
goodbye. Yeah,
Your scenes with Anna Marie
she's so
and
much fun.
were so good. I mean, you get Nigel's like, sassiness, and you get, Anna Marie Rachel's, and it's just like, I'm just gonna find out on my own. And
Yeah.
Nigel's just like, okay.
Just be careful. I mean, it was just she's amazing. The whole cat. I mean, I'm sure you. I haven't. I was working in Savannah. I haven't been able to watch the other videos with the rest of the cast yet. I can't wait
Yeah.
to see them. But I've never, and I don't know if they've said this either, but I've never been on a film set before where everybody's just meshed together as like an ensemble so easily. Like they were like the production manager finally towards the end of the shoot was like, "Could you please go home?" Because even on days that we weren't working, we would go to set and hang out in our like little room together,
Mhm.
and or go down and like watch filming, and that never happens. And on the weekends, we went to David's his uncle's house, and we took the boat out on the water. There's like videos of that all over social media, like when we went out and did that, had a cookout, had a barbecue, and we did golf carts or go-karts and putt-putt. I mean, it was a blast. I mean, like it was adult summer camp, that entire shoot. And everybody's there at the resort as well. So like every night we'd go out and eat afterwards. And my birthday happened during the shoot, and they all took me up for my birthday. It was like very sweet. And so
Oh,
yeah, it's like, and we're all still in a group text too. So
oh, I love it.
yeah, it was
Yeah,
great.
no, Anna Marie was telling me, because for me, I told her, and I've told everybody else, for me in this movie, and I've watched a lot of Lifetime movies. This movie was like next level. It wasn't,
Yeah.
to me, it was a Lifetime movie, but it was like a Lifetime movie, just like notched up like 100. I mean, between like this, the photography and the director
Well,
and the shots, just gorgeous.
Lars' cinematography was incredible, but also not enough credit is going to the score. And that score is gorgeous. The score reminded me a lot of Hans Zimmer's score for Euphoria, the last season of Euphoria. And
Oh yeah.
clearly, I mean, she did it. She scored it before Euphoria came out. But I mean, it's a gorgeous score too. Um, that not enough people are giving credit. And Peter's an amazing director as well. I mean, like across the board, everybody. It was like the best of the best working on this little film, and the crew from Alabama was fantastic, and Maggie, our first AD, the best. I got to work with her again on a film in Alabama in February, and it's a really great crew over there that they have.
Yeah. It I've seen, stuff done by the producer, everybody involved with Hybrid, and it was like when I watched it myself, I mean, all of you guys again did such a stellar job with bringing this whole storyline to life, story to life, creepy at times, but it was the type of movie, and again, credit to everybody behind the scenes that kept you on the edge of your seat. I mean, for me, and I won't say, for anybody that hasn't seen it yet, but it had me like, okay, is he the killer? No. And then like at the end, I'm like, oh crap.
Yeah,
It really was done really, really well.
yeah.
I have to, what were some, because I loved, again, Nigel also reminded me, and I couldn't think of it until afterward. Nigel also reminded me of the butler from The Nanny.
Oh, yeah.
You know, did you have like favorite moments throughout the filming doing, Nigel playing Nigel?
Once Peter knew what I was doing, and that was like, day one, that was like afternoon of day one, and like I kind of had permission to lean into it because I was afraid that it's a bit, oh, that's really way too much. Like whatever you're doing, but again, like it worked for the character. Like, and again, it was what it was. Nobody knew what Nigel's backstory was, but it was just there for me when I was tapping into it and where I needed to land on the day. So I had a character, but I also was cognizant of the accent. And all of my scenes with Anna Marie, I mean, and Austin, it was fun. I only had a couple of scenes with Austin, but it was always fun to get to work with him as well. And but it was finding the cheekiness in a lot of the line, and especially like you could read the scene one way, like the
Yeah.
no, this is my idea of hospitality, and
Mm-hmm.
which is a nice little like screw you. Uh, and and then also the scene when I'm chasing her outside when she's with the bellhop, and I'm like, all right, drop it. Uh, yeah. And the thing about Anna Marie, she's like, I don't think I ever once saw her grab her along. I mean, she's in every single scene. And
Mhm,
I mean, she was so prepared. I mean, everybody, I mean, the thing was everybody was prepared. It was one of those films like everybody's went to play. And like
mhm.
in between setups, we'd immediately be like absorbing the dialogue for the next scene and then we'd go and do it. But I mean, I mean, in and out, depending on which set that we were in the day, she was at a different place in time and story for her, like where she, from the fear to the arrival to all of the different things. So I mean, I can't give her praise enough. I mean, she was just astonishing to watch.
Yeah.
She's a
And
pro.
I love that part because I was just talking to Jeremiah and I even said to him, that's the part that I love the most, talking with all of you guys, sharing the stories behind the movie magic. Each one of you is such, you bounce off each other. You guys learn lessons throughout the entire time in this short time that you guys filmed this movie.
Yeah, and we were like each of us had auditions that would come up during the shoot as well. And so like we were all in our little hair and makeup room, like shooting people's auditions like in between takes. I had the guys there's a funny I have to find the picture and post on my at one point it was like how many people does it take to film a self-tape? Five. Because like one of the actors was reading for me, one was shooting, one was holding a lighting thing, one was holding a microphone. It was like the entire cast was like shoot. And it was just because of the really awful setup that we had in this one little corner. Otherwise, it's like a tripod and you're good. But it was like everybody on deck trying to shoot this thing. It was very funny.
And I love it too because I was talking to some of the fans that watched the movie.
Oh,
People don't realize. I said, most of it is, and it was a fan that watched, and it was another one we were talking about Nigel, and they were like, he not only does like in front of the screen, but he does behind. I said, yeah, he's creative. He casts for movies. He does. I said, this is the part. I said that is not said enough. Like you guys not only act, but certain ones like yourself, you do the creative side of
yeah.
it also.
Yeah, it's been at the point when we started shooting this, I had just started working again, but from like March until September, I had no work. And it was like I had to make life choices during that point. And the reason is because the president of the United States of America threatened a film tariff. And that threat of the film tariff at that point scared off a whole bunch of independent projects because no one would understand what that would mean basically on the back end, like at the export import of that tax. And so there were three films that I was set to cast that all went away. And so then there was nothing, and there was a job that I was supposed to cast and they hired somebody else and then toward the end of August I got hired to write a vertical and it was an awful experience. It was um I was ready. I mean, it was an awful experience working with the studio, working with this producer who did not know what he was doing. The director's amazing, Audrey Dietz. She's one of the best in the game.
Yeah,
And then I was casting it as well. And I had to write this entire thing. So I write the entire thing. And then the studio was like, oh no, we don't do murder mystery. So then I had 2 days to completely rewrite a page one rewrite script. And the producer, who's never produced a thing before, but he had money, he didn't. I'm like, this is not how this works. And then the fights back and forth between us and production on who they wanted as lead actress were back and forth. And it was like, I've said it recently. I was like, this was the worst experience I've ever had working on a project. And that 35 years of casting, like I've worked with Jerry Bruckheimer and this wasn't that bad. And so, um, when it was all said and done, and then the crew didn't get paid in time. And if you know anything about me, I worked for a con artist and didn't know it. And he was on the front page of the LA Times. And then he sued me
wow.
for $12 million dollars because I violated my NDA. And then that became a whole thing for a year where my attorney kicked it to federal court, which could potentially set off a U.S. Marshals investigation, which is what happened. So then he withdrew it in federal court, took me to arbitration, which is where he should have started with, since that's what the contract said it would be like. And then he never responded to arbitration. So the court stamped it that I win. So it's all done. No more, like, I don't have to worry about this man ever again. I mean, I'm sure he'll try to come back at me at some point in my life. And then a month later, I was on a panel at a film festival, and I am holding my phone. My phone's been silenced, and I look down, and it's my attorney calling. And I text him back. I'm like, well, I'm on a panel. Can I call you back? And he texted me back, please call me at your earliest convenience. The Federal Bureau of Investigation would like to have a small chat with you. And I just stood up and I went, I'll be right back, and ran off the stage. And so he called me, and super long story short, he said, what have you done? Like he knew what we had done. And a year later, almost a year to the date, he was arrested, and now he's facing 300 years in prison. And and again, that wasn't even the worst experience of my life. That's how bad this vertical experience was. Um, so he's in prison now. I just found out that the rights to my movie that I was supposed to do with him last night, I just realized, I looked up the contract. The rights to that script reverted back to me. So the movie that I
Oh,
was
good.
supposed to make with him, I can now make. But back to the vertical experience. So last year, so August, September, we're doing that, and worst experience I'd ever had. However, that experience opened me up to the opportunity of casting verticals and writing for them. So I have been writing verticals. I've been meeting with studios. I've been doing a lot of work with Michael Sokol and Audrey Dietz, who are amazing. And we just had a meeting of last week for to do this new big project that'll be really cool. And my film Darlene, Jamie
Yes.
King and Natasha Lyonne are going to be producing that in September. Mary Lambert's directing it. And so that's been a 10-year journey to get that to screen. So, and I just, this past week, I was shooting The Comeback King, the Judd Apatow movie that he's directing in Savannah with Glenn Powell and Madeline Klein and every country
Wow.
music artist out there. It was a really, really fun experience. I'm still exhausted from like, I shot Thursday and it's Saturday and I could barely move. Um, but yeah, so there's been a lot of different movement, but that terrible experience that I had last year was the jumping off point for me to now
Well,
write more and cast more in that world. I was just working on a project as a casting director, and I've not exactly been shy about the fact that I did not enjoy that experience because again, it was the studio kicking back things and having me do things that as a casting director we don't do and a lot of like bad business, like
yeah.
rates and stuff. And so I learned boundaries this past week.
Mm.
And on some things that will never happen again. And starting Monday, I start a new movie for Lifetime called Murder in a Small Georgia Town with Christine Consat. She does a lot of Lifetime movies. So I'm excited to work with her.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Do we know, like, I know nothing. We don't, do we know, like, who's going to be a part of it or, like, when it's
Baby,
going
I
to,
don't even know what I'm shooting Monday. I've been asking for a schedule. I mean, it's this is how the world is in film. It's like they said, well, we sent you the day out of days, which basically just tells you which days you're working. It's like, yeah, but I have 100 pages to like memorize. So could we figure out
hello?
like where what's happening Monday? Um, but I'm really excited to work with them because it's these producers have done a lot of these projects in Georgia and forever. I mean, they've each of them have hundreds of credits, and but I don't know anybody else about the cast. But I'm playing the villain, or one of the villains, I should say. I am a villain in this one. Nigel was just misunderstood.
Up with this. What is the
Nigel was just misunderstood.
true? Hopefully you're not too creepy like Austin was in
Oh,
this village.
definitely creepy.
Oh, dear Lord, I'm gonna be like, "Ugh, Chad, you're killing me."
Yeah.
I wanted to dive deep because I saw all about Darlene. I want to give you time to, elaborate on it because it looks like it's been a long journey for you.
Oh my God. You're the first person to actually hear this story because we've never talked about Darlene. So let me figure out the edited version of this. So there again, I wouldn't call her a con artist, but well, I mean, money was taken. But early 2017, there was a studio that wanted to do a film about this subject matter. And so I was asked to write this script quickly because in February they were planning to go to camera in May. And that was just how the money was done. I do write fast. Everybody knows that I write fast. So I wrote the first 25 pages, sent it to Mary Lambert, and Mary and I have had a working relationship for several years. And so Mary wrote back at noon on Monday, if the rest of the script is this good, I'm in. And so that Friday, I was in New York doing the first round of rewrites with her. And she was teaching at NYU at the time. And we went through revisions. And this was, keep in mind, this is 2017. So those producers involved, we would go back to New York a couple months later. Um, there were a couple of shady characters in that mix that I was unaware of until I'm in New York at a what felt like a mob dinner, and the guy, the smartest man in the room, looks at me and he says, "Who are you?" And I'm like, "I don't know why I'm here, buddy." And so I said, and I looked at him and said, "I'm the fucking talent." And he looks at me and goes, "I like that. You're the fucking talent." And like he's
I
got like
love
his,
it.
and so I'm so confused by what's happening, but I realize that the people that I'm with don't know what they're doing at this point. And
Mm,
so, and then this guy, he had this thing, this app that he was talking about, which it was a similar app to what I wanted to do with some investors. And we talked about that. At the end of the dinner, he goes, "Here's what I'm going to do because I like talent here. Uh, you send me the budget, send me the script, and I'll look at it. But if I'm investing in this thing, I'm investing in talent here." And so a month later, I get an email from this guy, and he goes, "Talent. I don't know who the fuck did this budget, but this is not a budget."
oh,
And so I email the people involved, and I'm like, "What is this?" And so then one of those producers went MIA along with several $100,000 of the investment. And then the other producer involved, he pays another bondable line producer, which is important, to do a budget, and the budget was off by $1 million. And so at that point, and that Devin was his name. He's like, "Chad, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to tell you. This is not a budget. This is not at all like a budget." So at that point, there were contracts that had to be done. People had to be removed. Da 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 da. My producer at that point, very sweet guy, just didn't know what he was doing. He'd never produced a film before. He saw the potential in how to make money in a film, which thank God because that's such a rarity. But also he had no access to the money. Like he just didn't. Like I
mm,
appreciate that you want to make money, but it takes money to make money. And
true.
so several years go by, nothing happens, and then in 2018, Mary Lambert still attached this, and oh God, my God, that was only a year. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was only a year later. That feels like, yeah, wow, that's crazy. So 2018, which it did feel like there a lot more time had gone by. Um, Mary, I was in New York with Mary. We're talking about a project, and I said, "Oh, I was doing my podcast. That's what it was." And
Okay.
um, I'm really kind of angry at Mary because she's not talking about the things that I wanted to talk about. And I said, I can't believe that they just don't do a staged reading of the script for investors, and then we go about it that way. And Mary's like, "That's a great idea." And so they put a little bit of money into a casting director in Los Angeles, somebody who I was currently working with on another film, and nobody
Wow.
told me that they had hired her. And there was an actress that was cast that I thought was a terrible idea for reasons that will be explained in my book. You should have been nicer to me. Um, but so she was cast. Debbie Ryan, who I'm obsessed with, she was in Insatiable. Ellen Barkin, um, Charles Melton at that point was on Riverdale.
Yeah.
We had a really really great cast that were doing this reading, and the investors, studios showed up. Everybody was excited. Nothing happened, and then the pandemic happened, and then the pandemic sort of like reset everything, so that nothing happened, nothing happened, nothing happened. And then, oh my God, so all roads lead back to Deadly Destination Wedding. So the so Jamie King and I met in 2023. We were both working together on a film at the time. Jamie's an actress. She's a producer. She produces a lot of her own films. Um, Jamie was talking about potentially producing my film, and this nobody knows this, but this is I'll put it out here now. Jamie was interested in producing my film Joey Stefano, which I've been trying to get made for 15 years, and she would play the role of Sharon Kane, which is a biopic. So nobody knows this yet. Breaking news. um,
Breaking news.
breaking news. But everybody knows about the script because it's gone through like lots of different cast and whatnot. So Jamie was like set to produce and star in this movie. And then 2024 happens, 2025. Last year, and in the spring of last year, there was a horror film that I wrote called The Telling, and this was in July. So I finished the script. I posted out on my social media. I'm like, this script has been optioned 5 times. Like, I really want to get this film made. Da 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 da. Da. A friend of mine who's a producer contacted me. He read it. He's like, I want to produce this. We have an actor that we want to take it to. And I was like, great. By the way, I can potentially show it to Jamie King. She might attach to play the female lead. If not, she may want to come on board as a producer. And so he's like, great. So then I send it to Jamie and her team. And Jamie's producing partner said, no, we want to produce it ourselves. We don't want to, we'll just do it ourselves. So from July, August, September, October, November, we're trying to figure out like, is Jamie going to direct it? Is she going to play Jenner? Like, what's the deal? And then in October, like right before I shot Deadly Destination, we decided that we were going to find another director. Jamie was not going to direct it. So I said, well, I can get Mary Lambert. And so I take it to Mary and I'm like, hey, this is the film. They've got, investments and da da da, like they can happen. Jamie would play Jenner. I'd love you to direct it. And I'm on set, like I'm pulling up into base camp and into the parking lot, and I get this email from Mary, like, I don't know, Chad, it's not a horror movie, it's more of a thriller, and I don't know how to make it a horror movie. And I call her, I'm like, no, it's not a horror movie. It's definitely a thriller. And she's like, I'm just not interested in that. Can we just get them to invest in Darlene instead? And I was rage, just absolute total rage. It's like, and I've told this story to everybody involved. So everybody's aware of this story. I'm like, do you mean to tell me I'm inviting you to a yacht party? And I'm like, welcome to my fucking party. All expenses paid here. But you're like, I don't want to be on this yacht. I want to be on this yacht over there. So can you just take all your party and move it to that other fucking yacht? I was so mad. I'm in hair and makeup. I'm just screaming fume. I'm like, who does she think she is? Blah, 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 blah. And I remember like walking, I was like in the breezeway where we would walk. And I called Emma, Jamie's partner. I was like, I'll find another director. I'll just get Marcus Dunstan to direct it. Marcus did all the Saw movies and the Collector movies. And she's like, what is, and I said, yeah, Mary wants me to send you Darlene instead. And I'm like, I've got this yacht party over here. And she's like, what's Darlene? I said, oh, it's a dark comedy I wrote years ago that she was attached to. And Emma's like, oh, well, send it to me and I'll look at it. So I sent it, not thinking anything. And then like less than 24 hours later, Emma's like, oh my God, we have to make this movie. And I was like, really? Really? And
All of
so
this.
the very last day of shooting for me, that scene, that scene, the big fight scene at the end,
Mhm.
that happens. There's a wall, and on the other side of that wall was me and Mary and Jamie all meeting Emma all meeting for the first time. Talking about the script, and Jamie was like, "I want to play Darlene, and I want you to direct it. I want you to produce it." So like that was when the clock started. And then, as these things do, they take time. And Jamie thought that Natasha would make a great Annie, which is the character she's playing. And so, and now we're starting to attach all the other actors to it as well. And we've put a flag in the ground as September 28th is the first day of shooting because we have to start scheduling stuff. So we're hoping that that will be the
Yeah.
start date.
Oh, congratulations, buddy. I mean, it's been one hell of a journey.
It is. It's like it takes a lot of resilience to be in this career, to be in
Mm.
the industry, because there's so many times of like you think things are going one way and then it just stops. It just dies. Last night while I was watching the movie, and like an hour into the movie, I got an email from the same studio that produced the movie, Vertical, that they were not going to be producing. I had been developing a script for them. and they had decided they're not going to make the script. And like, it has nothing to do with you. It's just the story, the way that we were telling it, like it's going a different way. I'm like, your timing for like sending me this letter is fantastic. I'm watching the movie that you produced that I'm in, and you're sending me a letter saying that you're not moving forward with the script. And in all honesty, like I agree with them. What we agreed with originally, the story that we were telling was great. And then 2 weeks ago, we had another conversation where they wanted to take it this different direction, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, the it's like making a thriller soapy, but not but the story is not soapy at all. I'm like, this just isn't working. And everybody involved said you absolutely addressed all of the notes, but we're realizing now that this just doesn't fit the slate. And I get it because they're trying to produce the slate with their platform, and it doesn't fit. They recognize that it's on them. You know, it has. They're like, this has nothing to do with your writing. But but again, I think also that was the universe's way of kind of resetting me because now I don't have to work on that project for the next month. And this other project that I just started with last week, we can move forward with that now. So that kind of moves up
Hmm.
in place. And now that I got the rights to The Intelligent back, I've got a conversation with those actors again starting next week. So everything works out. And I want Vertical and Hybrid to have the best possible everything. Like I want to work with them for years, but the timing was a little sus. I guess like, really? You're calling to let me know now?
Now
During
of all
Act
times,
4?
nothing like the worst time, like
But
for
that's the
real.
industry. That's the industry. That's the industry. Nobody, fuck your feelings, man.
It's funny because so many people, like my family, the fans that follow, me on Instagram, they always like there's certain times where questions will pop up. Like, what has been like your biggest takeaway doing it for this long, talking to so many different actors, producers, whatever? And I said, one, as equally as I am a fan of these movies, and obviously equally a fan of you guys who do the movie magic, I said, it's the lessons that I learned from all of these people, you included. I said, not everything is all like cupcakes and sprinkles and all happy. There are hiccups when it comes to filming. There are times where, say, a movie we may see on the screen has had its moments. It's not all like, okay, one, two, three, and everything's all lovely, and here's the movie, and it's all said and done. I said, I think the biggest life lesson, especially with the pandemic, and this is where my heart broke for all of you guys, everything just took that moment and stood still.
Yeah.
And it was like, that was the time that really taught me a lesson myself, how much there was so much struggle in the industry. And then the strike happens and everything else. I said, you understand and have a greater appreciation that the movies that we do see, the process is not always smooth.
No, and it's the pandemic reset everything. That's what it just, I mean, I have a book out called Buying the Farm. Sean Hayes and Todd Millen, Sean from Will and Grace, for
Yeah.
since 2008 until 2020, 12 years. We have been trying to sell this story called Buying the Farm, which is about four women who sell dead body parts on the black market in the Deep South. And they accidentally fall into it. And we were set to take it out to market to sell it on March 18th, 2020.
Mm.
And that was the day the world shut down. And the whole thing just over the next course of the weeks, like it was the world shut down. But then I was like, and I was due back in LA to start editing my movie, Undertaker's Wife. And I said, "Hey, are you guys going to be in the office?" And Sean wrote back, like, "Nobody's coming to the office. Like, we'll see you when we see you." And then the studio people that they had their deal with, they were all being furloughed and let go. So like just levels of decimation started. And so I think it was probably June. I was like, screw it. I'm just going to write this as a novel because I'll be dead before this ever comes out as a TV show.
Oh, God.
So I wrote the first season is Buying the Farm, and the second book, it would be season two, is called Francis Hunt's Boneyard and Pull Apart. um, uh, and then I'm gonna do the third and final one because it was always gonna be three seasons. And So yeah, we've in order to stay afloat in this industry, you have to adapt quickly.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
you have to know, and you can't take it personally. And
No.
again, like when I say, I'm not trying to throw shade at like being like, hey, we're not doing your script anymore. That's not it at all. That's just business.
No, shit
It's just
happens.
business. Shit happens. And again, they admit that it's like, this is what, you know what? We started this one way. It's not what we want now. Cool. What are we doing next? Like that's the attitude. I don't have
Yeah,
any sort of ill will, but somebody newer to the industry might be like, I can't believe they did that to me. They screwed me. They no, that's just on to the next. Also, what can you glean from that that you can take to the next project? But
exactly.
it's with these verticals, it's changing the whole game. And there's so many people, more people are coming around to verticals than they were a year ago. But
Hmm.
now that every major studio is coming out with their own verticals, that's where you're starting to see a lot of changing and shifting because um, the people that everybody's trying to chase China right now.
Yeah. Hmm.
And all of the vampire, werewolf, billionaire, homeless mafia people. And now the studios, now these new companies that are coming up, they're starting to realize, oh, wait, maybe we don't need to keep remaking the same storyline over and over and over and over again. And so, like, the studios that I've been writing for recently, they're more like spicy Hallmark. You know,
Okay.
it's just slightly, it's that sort of sweet, simplistic storytelling, but there's more making out and
Extra spice.
female gaze, yeah. So it's so some of the stories are moving that way. Some of them are moving more true crime. So it's that's going to be interesting to see. But also James Lafferty, his wife Alexandra Park, Stephen Coletti, what they've done with nobody's talking about this. What they did with Everybody's Doing Great, which is their show that's on Netflix right now.
Yeah.
They self-produced that pilot episode. They crowdsourced their entire first season. They shot it on a dime. They shot it in their own houses and it's seen the evolution of licensing from Paramount Plus to Apple to now Netflix. That is going to be the future. So for people that are complaining there's no work, for people that are complaining there's I don't know how to do it, there are people that are out there that are just doing it. And those are the people that are going to succeed. And those are the people that I want to work with because everybody can sit around talking about there's no work and they can talk about, oh, I had 14 auditions this past year and why am I everybody's all the problem's always something other than themselves.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. Oh, buddy. I feel like there's so much more to come. You got so much more, and I can't. Again, Nigel, you're like the lifetime version, I swear, of the butler on the nanny. It
That's
was
hilarious.
just,
Well, as a joke, so as a joke, I said on set one day, I was like, and I need we need help with this. Serenity Key needs to be Lifetime's version of the White Lotus.
yes.
So we have Deadly Destination Bachelorette Party, Deadly Destination Family Reunion, and then
Yeah,
we
there
just
you
move
go.
from resort to resort.
Yeah, just bring everybody back. That's
Yeah,
what I just said it to Jeremiah and I said it to Anna Marie when I talked to her and also I'm like, there just needs to be there needs to be some kind of a sequel, reunion, whatever that
yeah.
brings all of you guys back together because it just
Did they talk about it? Because I kept trying to bring this up at any time I could. Did anybody talk about the fact that I was like, oh, that needs to be a spinoff, the White Lotus, the Serenity
yeah,
Key?
Anna Marie mentioned to me, and I think Austin was the other one. And David and Zane said the same thing. I'm like, you guys really just like you guys like need to come together for some reason, hybrid, whatever.
Yeah,
Just all of you guys need to come back because
yeah.
it's
No,
just
yeah.
so good.
I said, yeah, and it's like, and it would be great if Anna Marie and Nigel again. It's like everywhere you go, there's a dead body.
Yeah, really, for sure.
Yeah, she could be like it's like Scream meets the White Lotus. Like everywhere she goes, there's a dead body.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. Even if they don't, you just have. That's it. You got to create some. There you go.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put one more thing on your plate.
Great. Yeah.
Oh, honey, congratulations!
Thank
I
you.
can't wait to see this new Lifetime, the movie that you're going to be working on. I
I'm
would love
excited.
to. I would love to circle back once it
Yes.
does.
Yeah.
come into fruition.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Congratulations, honey.
Thanks.
Good luck with everything. It's been such a joy to chat with you. I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Thanks. I'll see you soon.
See you soon, my friend. Take
Bye.
care. Bye bye.